Hi, my name is Dr. Katrina Mills and I'm the Acting Director of AustLit, a biographical and bibliographical database of Australian storytelling and print culture. I'm going to briefly introduce AustLit and outline the history of its development as research infrastructure before the BlackWords teams talk specifically about BlackWords' role in the digital humanities. First and briefly, the technological side of the database. AustLit operates on a bibliographical model that was, when the database was developed, both new and radical, functional requirements for bibliographical records, or FIRBA. Developed by the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, FIRBA is a relationship-based bibliographical model which values objects for their networked and hierarchical relationships to one another. AustLit then is more than a bibliographical listing. It is a rich and deep network of relationships between Australian works, publishers, authors, and readers. AustLit was launched online in late 2001. As it approaches its 20th anniversary, it is one of Australia's longest running digital humanities projects and the only national bibliography of its scale anywhere in the world. Its roots go even further back. This iteration of AustLit drew its original records from a range of pre-existing bibliographies, including a predecessor, also called AustLit, which ran as a telnet service and briefly as a CD-ROM between 1988 and 2000. Other projects that contributed to AustLit included substantial works on South Australian and Western Australian writers, multicultural writing in Australia, and Australian drama. In absorbing multiple pre-existing projects into AustLit, the researchers involved in its development recognised the risk of wasting time and resources by duplicating content across a range of different projects. AustLit, from its outset, was framed as a humanities research infrastructure, designed to secure and enhance significant existing projects, as well as providing a space for the development of future projects. In the years since its launch, AustLit has developed its coverage of regional Australian writing, writing in translation, periodicals, and adaptations, as well as taking the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander dataset and developing it into what is now BlackWords. AustLit contains records for over 1 million works, people, and organisations, and new content is added daily. From these records, we support research projects into a multitude of ways of writing about Australia, some of which reach back 20 years to our foundational projects, such as multicultural writing, and some of which are new ways of thinking, such as writing disability in Australia. But the largest and most significant research database is BlackWords, and the team are going to talk to you about that now.
BlackWords was created in 2006 as a project of AustLit. Since then, it has grown not only in records, but in cultural value and purpose, as an answer to the question, how do we use digital humanities frameworks to empower Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander storytellers? As of April 2021, on the BlackWords database, we have about 24,000 stories indexed that were by Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people. We also have 7,093 people and organisations, also referred to as agents, recorded within the database. The best way to describe BlackWords is a living and breathing tool, or tree, where more roots are added when more stories are indexed into the database, showing you the rich history of storytelling amongst our countries on this continent through streams of information and digital pathways. While we are still a part of AustLit, the BlackWords scope is a living and ever-growing response/entity that aims to represent the communities that make up so-called Australia and the legacies of the people who have gone before us. People like Ujiri Nunakul, also known as Kath Walker, who has the most stories indexed within the BlackWords database with 132 records. If you ever wanted to know if an agent within our database is recognised as a BlackWords storyteller, all you have to find is the BlackWords logo next to their name. This logo also brings you to the BlackWords homepage, where you can find extensive and informative resources like BlackWords Trails, Teaching with BlackWords, Tracing Our Heritage, and essays and publications. The BlackWords scope is considerate of the history of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and the impact that oppression and repression has had on our ability to publish and create literature as First Nations peoples. We aim to represent all forms and manifestations of stories by our peoples to highlight the rich and bountiful experiences of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander storytellers. Here at BlackWords, we acknowledge and express the importance and gravity of our people's stories, not just in relation to our database, or AustLit, but its value to the world, which is why we continue to build our database. Because of the colonial history and the current social issues in so-called Australia, the true value of BlackWords in the digital humanities space is still to be realised and grows with each record made. The importance of documenting history correctly and fairly is also one of the many reasons Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people tell stories. And so the database serves as more than just a collection of records, but a collection of stories that encompass perspectives that have been largely ignored and underrepresented within mainstream Australian culture. Furthermore, through the search mechanisms the database utilises, one can search for works from a particular era or particular subjects and see the differences and growth as well as the types of works Indigenous people have made and are making currently and what those works are about. This means we can track the cultural nuance in Indigenous storytelling as well as different ways stories are produced. BlackWords gives us the chance to understand and assess the ecology of Indigenous storytelling in so-called Australia and learn about the ways that the world's oldest storytellers are continuing to tell stories today.